All right, so yeah, moving on to the NFC East. Um, really had the reputation of carrying on the reputation of being the NFC least in spite of two playoff teams this past year. But um, yeah, let's just start at the bottom with the Giants. Um, they're coming off another rough year. I don't really understand why they're so committed to moving forward with Daniel Jones. He's arguably the worst starter in the league, and last year they actually tried to get him some help with Kenny Galladay there
Yeah. And
and
Kadarius in the draft, Kadarius Tony.
yeah, and Saquon was supposed to be healthy again, but yeah, that did not.
Saquon, he just does not look like himself after, since his rookie season. He
Yeah,
obviously looked amazing that year, and then since then he is not.
he had like he was starting to play better. Because I had him in fantasy. Right before he got injured, he had a pretty good game to
Yeah.
against the Saints. I remember where they upset them, but I mean, yeah, the Giants, the they're they're in a rough spot
Yep.
to say the least.
Another team with just a roster full of holes. So
Yeah, and they seem insistent on moving forward with Daniel Jones. So uh, I I
good luck to
guess
them.
I guess we just yeah, you can expect more of the same until proven
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yep. Yeah. Um. All right. Next team up, we got the Commanders. Okay, so they acquired Carson Wentz this offseason. So I think he's probably the best quarterback that they've had in a while. I'm not saying he's great or anything, but they had Dwayne Haskins, and then they had Taylor
Fitzpatrick.
Heineke. Taylor
Yeah,
Heineke. So, and Fitzpatrick. Yeah, Fitzpatrick only played like what, one or two
I didn't play.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah, before getting injured, so we didn't really get to see any of him. But Carson Wentz probably the best quarterback that they've had in the last 3-4 years at least. So that'll be interesting to watch. Um, yeah, I know they have a couple of cornerbacks. I know William Jackson, and then someone else is I think this is their last year on contract, so that's something they got to start looking into. Either getting through the draft or potentially re-signing them if they want. Um, yeah, and then Antonio Gibson, obviously, when he's been healthy, he's looked decent. J.D. McKissick's a huge weapon in that passing attack too. So I think if they're able to put someone across from Terry McLaurin, I know Curtis Samuel was acquired last year, but he did not play at all just because of injury. So he's a dynamic playmaker. If he's able to get healthy and look like he did with Carolina, I think they have, it's at least a decent offense, probably the best offense they've had in the last couple of years. So
yeah. I mean, last year, unlike the year where they made the playoffs and gave the Bucks a pretty good fight in the wild card round, um, I'm not sure what changed totally personnel wise, if at all. I can't really speak to that, but their defense did drop off considerably in the fact that they weren't really able to win them games in the same way that they were down the stretch of that year before where they made the playoffs. When Taylor Heineke and yeah, Fitzmagic are your options at QB, that's you kind of are gonna need your defense
yeah,
to stand tall. And I will say, yeah, Carson Wentz, albeit he's never been the same since his MVP year. He was the front runner for MVP before getting hurt his sophomore season.
mm-hmm.
He had a quietly like pretty serviceable year last
Yeah,
year. I
yeah,
mean, the Colts didn't really ask him to do much. He was the game manager pretty much,
yeah.
but he didn't really, yeah, he didn't lose games the way he did with his turnovers in the back end of his Philly tenure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like they didn't really give him the opportunity to with how much they ran the ball, which it worked. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, he's definitely their best QB they've had in a minute. Yeah, you'd look for that defense to bounce back this year. And yeah, we'll see. They'll probably another middling team. But middling can win you this division. So
yeah.
they'll be in that mix.
Yeah. I think, honestly, anyone's in that mix this year, except I don't want to put the Giants there, but the other three teams in this division, I think they have a shot at winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the year that the Commanders that I'm referring to, or the Commanders ended up going to the playoffs, was one of the most pathetic years for this division, when every team was a good bit below 500, and each one of them were still competing for the spot in the last week of the season.
Year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if what we get out of them this year, because I don't see a team this year like the Cowboys last year that are outright favorites.
Yeah.
With all that's gone on with this Cowboys offseason. So
Yep, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, so we can transition straight into the Cowboys from there. Honestly, we were talking about them a little. So Cowboys had a couple of pretty big losses. Obviously, Amari Cooper's gone. You lost Lyle Collins and Connor Williams, two huge pieces on that offensive line that's been great for the last however many years. Yeah, so just those losses alone. I think the receiving corps is still fine. You still have CD and Michael Gallup, but it's not anything close to what it was last year when Gallup was your number 3. CD was a great slot receiver too, so we're probably going to see him play more on the outside and get doubled more often with less weapons this year. So yeah, one of the brighter spots last year was Michael Parsons. Obviously, he was defensive rookie of the year, I believe, right?
I think so.
Okay, I'm pretty sure he was, because so
yeah, he was terrific last year.
He was great last year, so that's a great addition to that defense. But yeah, I think they still have a hold of this division, just because it's not a great division by any means. So I think they'll still be able to grind out and get some wins. But
yeah, and they still have probably by a good distance the best QB in this division in Dak. I get, we know what Dak is more or less at this point in his career.
Yeah.
He's above average for sure, but as you saw last year, there's the great QBs usually win you a lot. You can tell they can win you a lot of games that you shouldn't be able to win. And Dak beats who he needs to beat. But yeah, I mean, punching above their weight class has been an issue for the Cowboys outside of this division. And I think, last year was a bit of a disappointment with how their season went, and they looking back now with how much they've lost from their core over the past couple of years, that was probably their last year to really just go all in with this core. And that wild card loss was tough. I think that Amari and Dak they clicked initially, but it kind of lost steam. As his Cowboy tenure went on. So I think their offense will be fine. That bag you threw at Zeke is looking very tough right now.
especially with those two offensive line. Regardless of who they're able to get either in the draft or free agency, it's probably going to be a downgrade. So, he hasn't looked like himself over the last
Yeah.
year or two. And then obviously that does not help the situation at all. So
At this point, you could probably make a good case that Tony Pollard is the best running back
Yeah.
in that backfield.
yeah, he looked good when he was on the field. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But they'll yeah, they'll again be in the mix in this division as
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think that I'd give them the edge as far as favorites. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Last team in the NFC East, we got the Eagles. Yeah, so another problem for them was, just not being able to get to the quarterback. And then in addition to that, you got Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave hitting free agency next year. So that's obviously just not going to help. So they really got to target D-line and just defense in general to, try to get to the quarterback more at least. Jalen Hurts had a lot of hype behind him starting last season, and he didn't pan out into exactly what people expected him to. Definitely not what the organization expected him to turn into. He was still decent, I think. But yeah, I think this is kind of a make or break year for him to see if he can really pan out into what they wanted him to be when they drafted him. But yeah, I think who are the receivers? They have Devontae, obviously, and then
Beyond Devontae, it's like it's kind of
Dallas or no
that was Goddard. What?
Goddard.
Yeah.
So he's a solid receiving option too, but I think that they need to, if they want Jalen to actually succeed, they got to put at least another receiver opposite of Devontae. Devontae's been excellent. We knew he was a great route runner, but when he came in, so his first season looked promising, and hopefully Jalen is able to live up to expectations this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen, I don't know if you're ever going to be able to really believe in him as a passer. And at the end of the day, that's the name of the game. So I have my doubts regarding him, but still, of course, they made the playoffs as a wild card team, and he still made plays with his feet primarily, and I mean he's kind of like a more raw and much worse Lamar Jackson at this point. But yeah, they've been good on defense for the last couple of years, going back to that Super Bowl. It's a lot of it is still in that Super Bowl core, if I'm not mistaken.
Their D line, I think, has gotten, it hasn't been as great as it was.
Oh yeah, but yeah, they're gonna of course need help on the outside. Outside of Devontae Smith, as we noted earlier. Who was the running back this year? I forgot.
Miles Sanders.
He was.
I think he was injured for a lot of last season. So I think it was Kenneth Gainwell got a decent amount of action.
Don't they have like Boston?
Boston Scott as well. Yes. Yeah, you're right. So both of those guys, I think, were kind of splitting touches, but hopefully Miles Sanders is healthy this season and he's able to, produce. I don't think he'll ever be an elite back by any means. I think even before his injury, he was never, amazing.
Just like decent. Yeah.
He was, functional. So we'll see what they're able to do with that offense though. And then, yeah. All right. You have any other comments for the Eagles or the NFC East?
I mean, they'll probably again find themselves, considering the Cowboys aren't a runaway favorite this year, they'll probably be both of those teams will probably be battling for this division.
Yep.
But yeah, aside from that, we can move on
Yeah.
to the north.